Welcome to A Double
and
Dice
with your host Kim.
and Jocelyn.
Pour your favorite beverage,
Pull up a comfy chair.
because we are ready to roll.
Welcome to episode 110 of A Double and Dice. And today, we're going to go through majority of all the feedback we got from our What If series. And if you haven't listened to our What If series, go listen to it because there's 5 of them to listen to.
That's right. We did all of the things. We said all of the what ifs. There's no more what ifs.
Yep. And then you can come back and now listen to all the feedback because we all saved all the feedback until a feedback episode, which is this episode.
This one right now?
This one right now.
Are you sure?
I am positive.
Are we finished?
Okay, we're done. Bye.
No, I meant are we finished with all the what ifs? I think we are, right?
Yeah, I think we got through majority. And I know some people mentioned some, and I think we covered some of those as well. So
yeah, I think we got everything that we sort of could have. We talked about a lot of things.
Yeah, I mean, if anything does come up, maybe one might squeak in there. You never know, but I think we covered majority of it.
Yeah, absolutely. So should we talk a little bit about what people thought about our episodes, Kim?
Absolutely.
Excellent. So should we go into the Wayback Machine?
The Wayback Machine.
Yeah, to episode 104.
Yes, we're going back to our Wayback Machine, as she says.
Yeah, the Wayback Machine. Back in episode 104, which was our very first What If episode, which was about what if Dice Masters didn't have a competitive scene, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we talked a little bit about what we got from that episode. So we heard from our friend Collector Rob from the UK. And Collector Rob said that it's hard to imagine the game without a competition element, as there's a scoring element involved in the form of a life total. And also, even if you're trying out a janky combo whilst you're playing the team, you'll always be thinking about ways it could be better. That said, I imagine if there was no competitive play, then they would have sold them in campaign boxes from the start, essentially making them licensed version of couriers. So, what do you think about that, Kim?
I don't know. I don't know. I mean, without a competitive scene, I still think that Dice Masters would have been fine.
But I just, would if there wasn't a competitive scene. I mean, this is the whole episode. We don't have to do it over again. Yeah. That's what episode 104 was. But would people still talk about the game?
Yeah, I mean, people would still be playing it, not necessarily in a competitive scene, though.
Yeah. But would the awareness potentially be less, I guess is the question.
I don't know. That's hard to say because how much of awareness is it when there is a competitive scene somewhere? So I don't know.
This is also true. And then Yort chimed in and said, at the time he hadn't listened to the whole episode, but he thought that one of the great things about Dice Masters is that we can hold both the non-competitive and the competitive in both hands. He said there's definitely people in the community, of whom he is one, who are very competitive, but for the most part are able to not let it get out of hand. So like not the sort of toxic competitive environments that some of these collectible games have.
Mm-hmm.
He said his favorite example is from Worlds, where Craig Hubner, at the end of an absolutely grueling first match of the top 8, pretty much told me how I could beat him in the sudden death round. That would have been 2019 Worlds, back in Memphis before the world stopped. But Troy did continue to say, I do agree with the general sentiment. In our local team, we have 3 of us who are highly competitive board gamers, not counting his children. And even when building casual teams, they don't hold back when they play, but we're still bantering during the game. We're still friends afterwards. We're still meeting up to play the next My Island campaign the following week. So I think that's a good representation of the type of game Dice Masters is. We've got competitive people, people who are trying their hardest to win, who don't like to lose, for example, but they can also shake it off at the end of it and help each other out when they're playing. So
Yeah, and I'm sure a percentage of all the Dice Masters players there is a percentage that's like that. And I'm sure, yes, if there's no competitive scenes, they may not play.
Yeah, for sure.
But I don't think it's a very high percentage, though.
Mm-hmm. And then Shadow Meld piped up and said that even D&D, which has collectible minis and is arguably a scoreless cooperative game, has competitive scenes.
Yeah, I think most games do.
Mm-hmm.
But,
most collectible games.
Yeah, but does that drive you from playing the game or not, right? So
yeah. And then Nick chimed in and said that a lack of a competitive scene would be sad for me. It likely means no events at cons, so I'll see even fewer of the friends I've made over the years at conventions. Obviously, the sentiment is more for the community, but I think some competitiveness also helps keep interest in the game until it becomes solved, as we talked about in the episode about solving a format. That's part of why new sets and new cards and dice revive a game so much.
Yep.
Which totally makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
And then we also had a blog response.
Yep.
From Darren, White Spider 1066. And we've linked this in previous show notes. So if you haven't seen it, we are going to link it again in today's episode. But he shared our what if with his readers and then sort of talked about his feedback on competitive casual games, Dice Masters, and other types of games as an example. And he said that he thinks that fans of the game would step in to fill the void on a national level, like they did at the UK Games Expo, running an event. He said they've been living in a non-Friday Night Magic style Dice Masters world for years now, and he would argue that Dice Masters has gone from being a local thing to a global one. Although the overall numbers are not as large, the online playing scene sort of keeps things going, right?
Mm-hmm.
But he did agree that it's product that we need to keep both player bases growing. Without product, eventually the game will die.
Yep.
So that's sort of his thought process there. And he posed a question: does the game have enough of a fan base to go the Android Netrunner route after that was no longer a product with fan created content? And I think we talked a little bit about that in one of our episodes as well. So Darren's blog post is really well written, and I would encourage you to go and read it if you haven't done so already.
Cool.
So I think the general consensus is competitive scene helps keep interest in the game, but it's not the be-all, end-all.
Right? Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to go slightly less back.
Well, our next
all
episode,
the way
what
back.
if?
But we're going to move to episode 105.
Yes, where we talked about what if Dice Masters didn't release more product.
And so this one was, we got, I'm just taking a look at the feedback link here. So a little bit less feedback here on this one. But we did get feedback. We got a message from Rob, and he and I had been sort of communicating back and forth. And I said, it's kind of, really cool how much interest this podcast series that we're doing right now is creating. Like, because especially after the first one, there was a lot of, feedback. We just talked about it, right? We shared a lot of it. And he said it's one of the best things that you two have done, in his opinion. So I felt really good about that. Additionally, we got another blog response from Darren. And this one, again, he shared our link. And he talked about if no product is released. And his thought was, if there's no product being released on a commercial level, then there really is no game, but that doesn't mean people will stop playing it. It'll just become kitchen table play, and potentially fan-made content. We have had fan-made content in Dice Masters before, right? We talked about that a little bit, but it would be a little bit challenging. So, and again, it comes back to that concept of if nothing else is ever released, then the game essentially becomes solved. You know what the best cards are, and it's harder to get new people into the game.
Yeah. Yep.
So,
and then that leads us to our other one, which was number 3. What if Dice Masters had no content creators?
Yeah, so on that one, I think we got crickets.
Did we have crickets?
Yeah, I'm not seeing any feedback on that one, although we did ask the community at that point for what if suggestions.
Mm-hmm.
And we did get some suggestions from some community members, which did turn into future what if episodes.
Really, we didn't get any feedback.
No, and then we moved into we had a mini episode.
Yes,
for our anniversary.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, so that's kind of where that one went. And then when we came back, we had a conversation about local scenes, right? Because I think this was part of.
I think another one was if we never met.
Right, but the feedback that we got there, because we talked about local scenes and we talked about how at the end of our local scene, not the end, it's not over, I just moved far away. But when we were still playing at the store, really the only people showing up was you and me.
Yeah, and sometimes here and there Marcus.
Yeah, but then he moved, right? So we were sort of really struggling to get people, and we couldn't get new people interested in the game, and there wasn't any product for them to buy. And we heard from Robin from Australia, and Robin provided some feedback about that they're running a new scene down there in Perth, and they're getting 8 to 10 players a week, and they said that older product is easier to get there, and they're all new players, so the fact that there's no new product isn't harming the scene. The players are just seeing these dice they don't know about, so it's new people exploring and learning old product, which is awesome.
Yeah.
And that they're getting interest from other players that are seeing them play at the store. So there are local scenes out there that are growing in areas where perhaps product has been scarce in the past, or where people like Robin have taken up the mantle and said, here's a cool game, started to teach their friends and taken it to the game store and helped that out. Right?
Yeah, that's pretty good. I mean, 8 players is a lot.
8 players is a lot for Dice Masters.
Sometimes 10. That's pretty good.
Mm-hmm. And then we had the most recent episode. We did the episode on what if Dice Masters was not published by WizKids.
Mm-hmm. Which I don't know if we got really that much answers on that one.
Well, I mean, we got a little bit of stuff here if we take a peek. So there was some feedback from I think it was Petrus.
Yes.
On YouTube. Because he provided some feedback on Lorcana. He's been playing Lorcana basically since it came out last summer. And he said it has the best gameplay. It's very easy to understand, to pick up. And he finds it very much like Dice Masters. And some enchanteds, which are like their chase cards, are worth over, $500 US. And there's one that's over $800 US currently, but that could change when or if they print more of the Chapter 1 cards, which were the first release, which were kind of scarce and hard to find. So it's good to have someone sort of provide some feedback about that. And Kim, you've given it a try now.
Yeah, a few times now, because we play now Monday nights.
Mm-hmm. And do you find it like Petrus does, that it's very much like Dice Masters?
No.
No.
Well, here's the thing, Dice Masters, you're playing with dice.
Okay, but take the dice out of the equation.
Okay.
Does the gameplay seem similar in any way?
No. Because you're not pulling cards in your hand, unless you're saying your 8 cards or your 10 cards are your hand. But you're not, like, I guess, meaning if you're playing it, you're not playing the card, you're playing the die.
I guess.
I
I mean,
guess. And then if you're purchasing, it's like your like energy, right? Your purchasing is energy. So
yeah.
I mean, the concept, sure, if you look at it and break it down and look at it, like this does this in this game, so this does similar in this game is different, but there's no dice, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then we talked about how unique that is with Dice Masters. But I wouldn't compare it really to Dice Masters.
Well, maybe Petrus, if he's listening, can elaborate a little bit more on what he meant by the gameplay is similar to Dice Masters, because I have not tried it yet. I do have a couple of starter decks that I've picked up just so that Rob and I can give it a shot, because I did enjoy watching you and Matt play on stream, Kim.
Yes, we heard that you ran right to the store after and bought your starter pack.
Well, not exactly.
The next day.
The next, like, 2 weeks later.
You have to come out on Monday nights now.
Well, that depends if I'm home or not.
Yeah.
So, maybe I can come out. I mean, I would play Dice Masters on Monday nights. Tuesday was always hard for me because of my work schedule. So that's where I kind of struggle. But anyway, so then we heard from Robin again, and Robin provided some feedback on perhaps some of the loudness. So Kim put a little bit of a after the credits, a peek behind the curtain type thing, and she put some sort of like little beeps in. And I guess the sound on those were a lot louder than the regular podcast. So if you weren't prepared for that,
it's a wake me up.
It was a wake me up from what I heard.
I don't know. It was fine for me, but I don't know how other people hear things right differently. So
it depends if you're on AirPods, right? Or if headphones. I don't listen to most things with headphones. I just listen to it on either a speaker or just on my phone. So as a result of that, it wasn't so bad for me. But I can definitely
depends
see
how you listen. Yeah,
if you were on headphones, it was a little bit difficult. And Robin followed up with saying that although the beeping was pretty loud, the rest of the episode was fantastic, and it made her wonder if Dice Masters would benefit from another producer taking over. Because we talked about how other producers are taking games, right? What they're doing with them. So, and then we got some feedback again from Nick, and Nick brought out his math because he is the math guy. He says a draft pack of Dice Masters does cost more than a pack of another trading card game. You get a few more cards typically, and obviously the dice, but he thinks it's comparable because the key is how much you need to collect. The largest Dice Master set has 152 cards, while Lorcana has 204, and Magic has similarly large counts. Meanwhile, with Dice Masters, you need one of each card, and other games require multiples, which is a good point, because with Dice Masters, you can't have the same card. You don't need more than one of the cards.
And like Lorcana, you can have 4 of the same name, or you can even have like Elsa named Frozen Princess. You could have Elsa named Cool Princess, and they can be on your team. So same name, but max 4 because different subtitles.
Right. So to that point, he did some math and said a full playset for Lorcana would be 416 cards before rarities are considered, and ignores chase cards. That's a lot of cards.
That is a lot of cards.
So something to consider, despite the slightly higher cost per pack, is far easier to collect a full playset of Dice Masters than it is of any of these other games. And he said that the thought sort of came to him as he's starting to get into Lorcana a little bit more.
Yeah, I mean, getting those supposedly enchanted cards are like really, really, really tough.
Yeah, didn't Danny just pull one?
Yeah, she had a box, I think, and I don't recall how much packs are in a box, a booster box. And she got one. So
yeah,
the scaling on that is
well, they are chase cards, right? So
yeah, and I think one of the Elsas is worth like over $1,000.
Yeah.
So if you want to pull a card, that's the one you want to pull.
So there's the whole piece around what if it wasn't published by WizKids? Could the game be more popular? But also, there is the advantage that you don't need multiples of things, which makes it easier to trade because you're not trying to keep everything, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there's some good points there from our friends that listen to the podcast.
Yep.
So what is your thoughts, Kim, on wrapping this up and putting a bow on it?
Not wrapping up the podcast and putting a bow on it.
No, we don't want to scare people. We've been scaring people this year.
No, I think it was good. It made us think differently a little bit about the game, from a different perspective, and everybody has their own opinions and thoughts about it, which makes it very interesting. And I thought it was good.
Yeah, for sure. I agree. It was nice to sort of create that conversation and keep feedback coming in and hearing what people thought about the game and what's coming, and sort of keeping in that theme of things. I don't know if we can call this news. Is it non-news, Kim?
Non-news?
Yeah, not real news. So we heard in the Dice Masters Discord, the Dice Masters Online, somebody had talked to their store owner. So Gamma was recently. Gamma is the Games Expo. And apparently, WizKids said there in response, I'm assuming it was in response to a question, because I don't think they volunteered anything, but they said that there will be not be any news on Dice Masters until 2025. So you could look at that as news.
Mm-hmm.
You could look at it as non-news. You could look
Some
at it
news
as evasion.
is good news. No news is good news. I don't know. However you want to take it.
There was some chatter in the Dice Masters Online Discord about it to say, well, 2025, we know what Dice Masters is like. We know what WizKids is like. We're not going to hear anything until like 2027. And I'm like, at least some timeline is better than nothing. So they basically just goes to show that we shouldn't expect anything this year. And if we get something, it will be a nice surprise.
Yeah.
And hopefully it means, like, I'm trying to be on the hopeful side of things. I try to look at the positive side of life. I try to look at the positive side of all the things that we do. And maybe this means that they are, taking the time to do it right moving forward.
Yeah. And we hope, right? So
I mean, that's what I would hope. If they're gonna take, a year and a half off and there's not a pandemic, I hope that they are taking that time to figure out what's next and how to best manage this game,
Yeah. Yep. So
that's just my piece.
Yeah, just take that as not like really like just take it as it is.
Take it with a grain of salt, or take it in a positive or a negative way. Like, we're not here to tell you how to accept that feedback, but I'm looking at it as a positive thing. They said that there's not going to be any news till 2025. If they were just going to shut the game down, wouldn't they just shut the game down?
Yeah, you would think that they would just be like, yeah, it's done. Like, that announcement would have happened. So it kind of speculates, and then everybody can speculate their different thing, but they could be just re-looking at it and
retooling,
redesigning, maybe another selling it. I don't know. You can speculate so many different things, right? So
it could be anything, and spending time and effort to figure out what that is without any real knowledge is,
it takes time.
Something for podcasters to ponder over the next year. Like ourselves. The only podcast that's putting out
currently running,
about Dice Masters, sort of. So, that's out there, but it'll be interesting to see what comes. It'll be interesting to see how the community reacts this year without any news and without any word on anything. But I really hope they're using it to retool. So, if I look at the things that I'm seeing on the HeroClix side, so they've hired a new social media person. They've hired people on logistics. They did this intern thing. Did we talk about Kim, the fan intern?
No, I don't even remember this.
Oh, I don't think we talked about it. So WizKids put out a call for a HeroClix intern, and they were looking for a person
Mm-hmm.
to work like part-time for I think 4 months.
Okay.
And they were looking for a fan of HeroClix to help, create engagement with the community and help work on the next set and things like that. So they hired this intern, and that intern's been, interacting with the HeroClix community. They've been sending out polls, things like that. They also sent out like an engagement person, and that person's job is to better manage like conventions and competitive gaming for HeroClix specifically. So, I could see this as sort of like a test run to see what kind of impact they can get. And I can tell you that, we've talked in the past about how HeroClix players feel like they're hard done by and they don't get enough feedback from WizKids. But looking at the difference that we've seen since these two people have been in place, it's quite impressive. So hopefully that will continue, and we'll continue to see, and hopefully they'll leverage that for Dice Masters.
Yep, and Dice Masters rules form is still being answered, so
Regularly.
yeah, you send something in, the answer is pretty turned around pretty fast. So
yeah, so they're, why would you answer questions if you were going to shut the game down? Right?
Yep.
It doesn't seem like a good effective use of resources.
No, because they can just put that person somewhere else to do other things.
Yeah, absolutely. So makes me think that there's somebody actively working on Dice Masters in the background. They're just not ready to come forth and say what that looks like yet.
Yep.
So
ponder the question.
So news, no news, sort of news, fake news, who knows what kind of news it is, but it's the news that we have, and it's the news that I'm taking to heart. Potentially we will hear something next year in 2025.
2025, before we know it.
When the game turns 11.
Which would be actually awesome if they had something this year, 10 years, but
yeah, I don't think we can expect anything at this point.
Mm-mm.
But at least we tried. We'll see how things continue to develop.
Yep.
And that's what we can do. So that's I think that's the what if, Kim.
That is the what if feedback.
So is that all we have for this?
That's all we have, yeah.
Okay. Do you want to hear about Star Wars Unlimited?
Sure, Jocelyn.
So I tried Star Wars Unlimited.
Mm-hmm.
I liked it a lot. So I'm going to start this by saying I am not a massive Star Wars fan.
Obviously, she's a Star Trek fan.
I am a Star Trek fan. Correct. Star Trek is my thing. I am familiar, obviously, with Star Wars, because who isn't in this day and age? And so the theme didn't matter to me, right? So we sat down to try it out at Toronto Comic Con and took a look at it, and the gameplay was very interesting because, like, up until this point, I'm used to Dice Masters, which is, I take my turn and then I pass you priority, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then you get a chance to do something, and then I get to finish my turn, and then I get sort of more opportunities to do anything than anybody else does. But with Star Wars, so you have someone who has priority, right? The first player, for lack of a better term. But then you take turns going back and forth throughout of it. So there's different actions that you can take. So you can, what they call ready a unit, which is you put something in the field. You can exhaust a resource to do something. You have to exhaust resources to do things, and that's basically like spending your energy. You can attack your opponent's units or their base, or you can take the initiative. So if you don't have the initiative, you can take it from your opponent, and then you get to go first on the next turn.
Mm-hmm.
And you have like a leader and a base in addition to your cards that are in your hand. And then similar to Lorcana, your resources come from just taking your cards and placing them face down.
Okay.
Right? Because that's what you were doing when you were playing Matt, right? Your energy or your resources.
Yeah, your energy, you put it face down. That's what you use
What
to
do you
buy
call
your
it? Your
stuff.
inkwell or something?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, everything's got names. They told me, I didn't know this, but they told me when we were learning that the term tap and untap that they use in Magic
Mm-hmm.
is copyrighted.
Mm.
Crazy, right?
I don't know what they call it in Lorcana. I have the book right here. I should look.
Yeah, well, you can look that up. In Dice Master, or not Dice Master, in Star Wars, they called it exhausting and readying.
Oh,
so like exhausting, like you're using, and then
yeah.
readying, like it's getting ready.
Mm-hmm.
That was the terminology they used. So yeah, so I do a thing, and then like so if I choose to attack your unit, then your unit gets a chance to attack me back. The other thing was that when the damage doesn't clear like it does in Dice Masters. So when something is damaged, the damage carries over to the next turn. So you put little tokens on your card to indicate how much damage it's taken, and then when it hits the total number, like if the defense is 4, then when it hits 4 damage, then it's KO'd.
Right, like any other.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that was kind of interesting. So, but I liked it. It was very pacey. The gameplay was very intuitive based on the fact that I play a lot of other games like Dice Masters and HeroClix and a little bit of Magic. It all kind of just tied in. There was similar keywords, right? There was overwhelm. Would you like to guess what overwhelm is, Kim?
You're a little overwhelmed.
It's overcrush, basically. There was something that was similar to fast. I can't remember what the language was on it. Ambush, maybe.
Okay.
So yeah, so there were similar things. It just but the pace of I do a thing and you do a thing, and then we both keep getting to do things until one of us runs out of things to do, and then one of us takes initiative, and then the other person has to pass when they run out of things to do. And you have to get your opponent's base from 30 damage to 0 damage, and that's how you win.
Okay.
So again, I don't think the IP matters, but I do think that the gameplay is what's important, and I enjoyed it. I mean, for some people the IP does matter, but for me it doesn't.
Yeah. I think it was Danny I was talking to, because she played Unlimited. I asked her what the difference was with Lorcana and Star Wars Unlimited. I think Lorcana is easy to pick up and play.
Mm-hmm.
There's not much strategy, really. I guess you kind of make your combos go off if you get the right cards at the right time. She said there's a little bit more strategy with Unlimited.
Yeah, so it's interesting because like we played, there's 2 decks, like 2 starter decks. There's the Luke deck and the Darth deck. Surprise, right? You can play the rebels or you can play the evil people. And see, I told you I don't know a lot of Star Wars. I can't even think.
I'm not the Star Wars.
They're called
neither. So
the Stormtroopers.
Yeah,
the Darth Vader people. Anyway, someone's gonna be like yelling at their podcast right now. Jocelyn, oh my god. Anyway, I should know this stuff, but I'm brain fried after this week. So, with all of that said, when we first started playing, Rob and I were playing. I was playing Darth, and he was playing Luke, and I couldn't win. Like, it just was not happening. And when we were talking to the people that were demoing the game at Toronto Comic Con, they said that they felt that the Luke deck was stronger. And then we came back to give it another try when there was another opportunity, because we didn't want to hog the table, right? There's a lot of people at the Toronto Comic Con that wanted to try it out. So when we had a chance to have an opportunity, we flipped back, and Rob took the Darth deck, and he sort of like, again, I don't want to say he solved it, but he identified like a way to make it a little bit more aggressive, because I think it just comes down to play style. And this sort of came up with Lorcana as well in the Discord the other day. I think Matt asked about the different colors in Lorcana and how they work. And I think Nick shared something about play styles based on the colors.
Danny
Danny shared something, sorry. I saw so. I think maybe he asked Nick. Anyway, not important. I'm babbling. So, the Darth deck is definitely a more aggressive deck. You have to play aggressively. If you try to play defensively, you will lose. But if you play aggressively, then you win. So then now we can't win with the Luke deck. The Darth deck keeps winning. So we don't have any boosters or anything like that.
Sort of
We're
balance,
literally just playing with the starter decks, and the product is sold out like everywhere. So it's just all gone. Everything is basically gone.
That's how it is when something new and shiny comes out.
Yeah.
You
It's
get on
very
it right there
popular.
then or pre-order, or else you're gonna have trouble finding it.
Yeah. So I think they'll probably reprint, and I'm sure that stuff will come out. But it looks like the schedule, I think, is like 3 sets a year, like every 4 months, which feels good.
Yeah, or kind of like it every 3 months, and their next set's coming out in May.
Yeah, that's exciting.
So in Lorcana, you exert your card.
Exert.
Yes, and when you get defeated, your card is banished.
Ooh, it's banished. I like that.
Yep. So very thematic, right? So
yeah, and I mean it's wordplay, right?
Yeah, supposedly there's a whole story with it. Like ink characters and how different they are if they're inked. Like
okay.
How we know Anna from Frozen, if she's inked, she looks different.
Interesting.
Yeah. She's got like red hair or something like that. I don't know. I was looking a little bit of the story. I didn't know this. Which kind of reminds me of a video game, a Mickey Mouse video game that feels like it was like an inking game. But there's a whole story. It's like another world that they wish if they were like this, and then there's like a dream world and then reality. I don't know. If somebody knows the story, maybe they can point us in the direction of the story, but something like that is that whole Lorcana thing.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think there's things that you can try out. So right now, if you're finding that Dice Masters, is perhaps a little bit stale because we don't have any new product and there's no news, and maybe you're a little bit disheartened, first off, I would say, feel how you want to feel. But my thought is, it's a great game. There's lots of opportunity to play it still, and you could maybe just take a break. If you wanted to take a break and try something and get into something that's maybe a little bit more, like obviously no dice, but similar, like as far as gameplay goes, Lorcana or Star Wars Unlimited could be ways to go while you're waiting for news on Dice Masters.
Yep.
So yeah, so that's what I'm doing. I'm trying that out. I'm going to try out the Lorcana deck because I haven't done that yet. They're still sealed. We're playing a little bit of Magic still. Obviously playing lots of HeroClix. Next phase is out right now, which is the new set that we've been waiting for, and it's like 5 months between sets this time, which feels like a long time for HeroClix because they usually release them a lot faster than that. So, but I'm okay with it because we got a chance to play with some of our plastic. So
yeah,
and I will take it.
Now my void's filled with Lorcana and Dice Throne and board games, and
yeah, there's always things to do.
Yep.
Right? There's so much out there now. It's crazy. Like when we went to Breakout Con, which was the day before we went to Toronto Comic Con and tried Star Wars. That's all board games, and like it had like the national championships for Catan there, and there was people demoing board games, and there was role-playing games and vendors. Like it's crazy. Like none of this stuff existed when I was younger. I didn't have access to any of this stuff.
Yeah.
And now it's everywhere. It's pretty insane.
So my guess is that there will be no Dice Masters in what's that gaming thing in August?
Gen Con.
Gen Con.
Yeah, I don't think so. I mean, anything's possible. They could announce something. Or somebody else could put on an event. Like it doesn't have to be WizKids that does it. Like anybody can register to run an event, and they could say, I want to run this event. But I don't think that we're going to see anything, because what are they going to run if there's no
new product or anything?
No product and no one to run it, right? So I think it'll be interesting to see how HeroClix goes and then what they do with that, and also if they're going to do anything with their new Star Wars game.
Yeah.
Not Star Wars, Star Trek. They have Star Trek.
Funny, my hubby asked me the other day. He's like, "Are you still planning to go to Gen Con if there's no Dice Masters?"
And what did you say?
Maybe.
I think you should.
I think we may be able to work it.
Gen Con is awesome because there's everything you could possibly think of. It's busy, right?
Mhm.
So there's keep in mind it's going to be a very busy convention. I think there was like 70 or 80,000 people there last year. But you'd want to get your tickets before May so you can make your wish list of what your events are and try and get the events you want, because there are events that sell out.
Yeah.
The other thing to consider is PAX was really good last year. PAX U. PAX Unplugged in Philadelphia. Easy to get to Philadelphia from Toronto and a little bit more low-key. Still lots of stuff to do, but it wasn't as crowded and you didn't have to worry about the pre-registration and not getting the events that you wanted, because basically you just went in the morning and you registered for whatever events you wanted to do and then you just did them. It was nice and chill. So
And
Gen Con is just a little overwhelming at first.
Yeah.
The first time you go and trying to figure it out, and how do you balance your schedule, because there's 24-hour gaming for like 5 days.
Yeah.
Like
Nobody
people
sleeps.
need to sleep and eat and shower. Definitely shower. Don't forget to shower. So it's a cool convention, and I would say if you guys want to come, I think it would be awesome.
Yeah, we'll see. Unless it's in the summertime, so it works.
Yeah, it's the end of July, beginning of August.
So, and when's PAX U?
December.
Oh, that's a tough one.
First weekend in December.
Yeah, that's a tough one.
Around my birthday.
If summertime works, pretty good.
Jocelyn's birthday convention. PAX Unlimited. Yeah, really, that's when it is. Over my birthday.
Yep, we'll see. Will see.
Maybe one day. So, yeah. So other than that, Kim, tell us about Monday nights.
Yeah. So, now that Weekly Dice Arena is kind of on a break, I moved gaming nights to Monday, and every second Monday we do Dice Throne, and every fourth Monday we do Lorcana. So if you join our Discord, which we'll have linked, you can see in our calendar when they'll come up, and you can join and play in.
Cool. And no Dice Masters right now.
No Dice Masters right now. If anybody wants to write down Dice Masters, don't ask me.
Don't ask you to run it?
Yeah. I hosted it for many, many, many times on Tuesday. No one showed up. And then I just ixnay and everybody's asking for it. I'm like, no. So if you want to play,
well, I mean, maybe it was just a time, Kim, right? Yeah. These things happen. Yeah. And, like I said to you, when you said you were going to do Mondays, well, for doing Mondays, I could come. So, right? Tuesday's the problem for me because of my work schedule. I'm usually traveling. I'm either traveling on Tuesday or I'm traveling on Wednesday morning early. So I can't really get out to play Tuesday night. But if you're going to play Monday nights, like it's more likely that I could join.
Unless someone wants to host it. You can host it if you like.
I'm not going to host it. I'm not going to stream on Twitch.
You don't have to stream. We haven't been streaming our Monday nights, so we just want to get out and play. We're not we're not streaming them. I mean, we may record it, our games, but we're not streaming Monday nights.
The nice part about streaming it, though, is that there's the potential for people to watch and engage.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And get interested in the game, right? So, things to consider.
But yeah, lure count is pretty high up there. I don't... People watch and play. Fair. But we do record it. All our videos are up on YouTube, so...
Awesome. Well, so thanks, Kim, for indulging this What If series that we've done, and thanks to our viewers for sticking it out with us.
Providing all our feedback.
Yeah, absolutely. And we would love to hear, what you thought of the entire What If series, or what you'd like to hear moving forward. So if there is not going to be Dice Masters around for, till 2025 at some point. What do you want to hear us talk about for the rest of this year? Because we want to keep putting out content for you to listen to every 2 weeks.
Yep.
All right. So on that note, you can let us know all of those things, including what you'd like to hear from us, in all the usual places, which include you can reach out to us by email at tripledpodcast@dm-north.com. You can find us on the internet at the website dm-north.com. You can find us on Discord at the dmNorthTV Discord channel. We have the Double and Dice podcast convo section in there. You can @ us on Discord. Kim is at SuperK. I am at JoStitch, JOCE Stitch. And we're on all the socials as dmNorthTV, which includes X, Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, Threads. And of course, we've got the youtube.com/dmNorthTV and the twitch.tv/dmNorthTV. So until next time, on a Double and Dice and Lorcana and Star Wars Unlimited.